I am really looking forward to sharing from our story this morning. As was said earlier, this summer we are spending our Sunday mornings thinking about lots of different stories of how people's lives were changed when they met Jesus. And today's story is a story about two friends called Philip and Nathanael. Now, Philip and Nathanael became two of Jesus' 12 disciples. They were two of the people that followed him most closely over his life and saw how he lived and learned to live life like him. And the Bible doesn't tell us how all 12 of those people met Jesus, but it does tell us how Nathanael met him. And we can learn some really important things from that story. So that is what we are going to be looking at this morning. Andrew, in a minute, is going to come up and read our story to us. But before he does that, I just wanted to give you a heads up that there are some words to be looking out for in our passage this morning. And I would love it if you would join in with a couple of little actions if you hear these words. So the first word is found or finding. And if you hear that, I want you to touch your nose and do like a bingo like this. Yeah, okay, so found or finding. Bingo. Excellent. And if you hear the word see or saw, I would love you to put on a pair of binoculars. Yeah, I don't even need to demonstrate that. You've got it straight away. So if we try that a couple of times. So if I find myself, yeah, excellent, saying the word see, I would hope to see some binoculars around the room. Excellent. Wonderful. Andrew, would you be happy to come and read to us? We are going to be reading the passage from John chapter 1, verses 43 to 51. If you have Bibles, we'd love you to open them. The words will also come up behind us on the screen.
John chapter 1, starting at verse 43. The next day, Jesus decided to leave for Galilee. Finding Philip, he said to him, "Follow me." Philip, like Andrew and Peter, was from the town of Bethsaida. Philip found Nathanael and told him, "We have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, and about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." "Nazareth? Can anything good come from there?" Nathanael asked. "Come and see," said Philip. When Jesus saw Nathanael approaching, he said of him, "Here truly is an Israelite in whom there is no deceit." "How do you know me?" Nathanael asked. Jesus answered, "I saw you while you were still under the fig tree before Philip called you." Then Nathanael declared, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." Jesus said, "You believe because I told you I saw you under the fig tree. You will see greater things than that." He then added, "Very truly, I tell you, you will see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man."
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Excellent binoculars. That was wonderful to look around and see. Thank you for joining in. So our story this morning starts with Philip meeting Jesus and choosing to follow him. And Philip then runs off and he finds Nathanael and he says, "We found him." And that is a really, really big statement. Because Philip and Nathanael were Jewish men. So they would have grown up being taught about this promised Savior. They would have studied lots of the stories and the prophecies, the promises that we read in the Old Testament today. Promises like he, the Savior, will do what is just and right in the land. In those days, Judah will be saved and Jerusalem will live in safety. But life right now was really difficult for them. The Israelites, who are their friends and their family, were living under Roman occupation. They were having to work really hard just to survive. Lots of their money was being taken by the Romans in taxes, so many of them were living without enough money. And their neighborhoods were really tense. There was lots of conflict between the Israelites and their Roman occupiers. So it would have been a really tricky place to grow up in. but they also knew that God had promised this Saviour. So in this moment, when things were not looking great, the search for the Saviour was growing. It was building intensity. And I wonder what the longest time you guys have been on a treasure hunt is. My favourite Christmas present a couple of years ago was from my brother. It was a game which was a little bit like a treasure hunt, with lots of puzzles to solve, maps to trace through, codes to break. It was brilliant. If you had to guess, do you have any ideas how long I spent playing that treasure hunt over that Christmas? Any thoughts? 2 hours? Nice. Longer than 2 hours? Any other thoughts? 4 months. Do you know what? Nearly. So over that Christmas, 3 hours, it was longer than 3 hours. So we spent 4 whole days over our Christmas holiday playing this game. And technically, we haven't finished it yet. There's still a third of it left to go. So maybe longer than 4 months, Al. It was a lot of fun. And that sounds like a really long time to be on a treasure hunt. But the Israelites have been waiting for their Saviour for 1,000 years. And over time, they've been given more and more clues, more things to look out for, more prophecies, more promises. And in this moment, Philip is saying, we found him. We found the guy that we were told about 1,000 years ago. Now, we are going to go on a bit of a treasure hunt ourselves this morning, for which I might need a little bit of help if you guys are up for it. Young or old, volunteers welcome from anywhere in the room. I will give you a clue, and then you will be tasked with going and finding a little bit of our puzzle this morning. Would anyone be up for finding our first piece of jigsaw? Yeah, what's your name? Ted. Hey, Ted. Okay, we're going to put a clue on the screen, and you're going to have to think and see where you think that piece might be, and then you can run and grab it. Are you ready? It says, with switches and dials and meters that glow, I master the volume and control the whole show. Any ideas where that might be? Do you have any thoughts? Yeah. Do you want to go and grab it? Amazing. Off you run. Excellent work. Okay. What is written on our first piece of the puzzle? Oh. Hopefully not turn it down. That would be slightly sad for me. What's written on the first piece of our puzzle, Ted? Can you see?
I do. Jesus.
Yeah, nice. So the first bit of our puzzle is Jesus. Do you want to come and leave it at the front here, and we'll put it with the other pieces as we find them? So Jesus, stand and raise it. Lift it up. Sorry. Yeah, you can't see it at the back. We're going to be building a jigsaw puzzle. This is our first piece of the jigsaw puzzle, and it says Jesus. And next time I'll get whoever finds it to lift it up and jump real high as well. So Philip and Nathanael have been watching and waiting for this Saviour. So when Nathanael comes along and says, we have found him of whom Moses and the law and also all of the prophets wrote, it's a really big deal. Philip's saying that the search that has been going on for generations is over. They finally found the man that their great, at least 26 great-grandparents were told about thousands of years ago. And Philip is claiming that this guy from a little, not that important town down the road is the one that they have been waiting for. Nathanael's not particularly convinced. From Nazareth? Are you sure? And we don't really know what is going on in Nathanael's mind in that moment. Maybe life feels really difficult for him, and he's given up hope. It's been so long that he can't quite believe that the Saviour might have come at last. Or maybe he's seen other people claim to be the Saviour before, and they've disappointed him because they weren't the Saviour. Or maybe he knows someone from Nazareth and he just doesn't really like them, and he doesn't want the Saviour to come from the same town as that guy. But whatever the reason, Nathanael has serious questions about whether Jesus is who they're saying he is. And Philip's response to those questions is brilliant. He doesn't try to explain all of the details why he thinks Jesus is the Saviour that they've been looking for. He doesn't go back through all of the clues, all of the prophecies, all of the promises that they've been piecing together for the last 1,000 years. He doesn't try and build this clever, logical argument for why Jesus is who he says he is. Philip's response is come and see. Because Philip trusts that it's okay to come to Jesus in the middle of our doubts and our questions. And that's true for us as well as for Nathanael. When we are faced with doubts and questions, or when our friends bring their doubts and questions to us, the invitation from God is still to come and see. Come and meet Jesus. We don't have to try and convince people with arguments to believe in him. And we don't have to have all the answers to our questions and doubts either. The invite from Jesus is to come and meet with him in the middle of them. It doesn't mean our questions aren't important, and it doesn't mean that it's not important to understand who God is with our minds. But it means that we don't let those questions stop us from coming to Jesus. And this story reminds me of a time when I was hurt by some of the tricky things that were going on in my life. They'd made me question whether God was good and whether he really brought hope. And at the time, people tried to give me some clever answers when I was asking questions like, where was God when this happened? Or why did he let that happen? Their answers didn't really help. What helped me was going back to basics. Knowing that I believed that the stories in the Bible were true, and then spending time rereading the stories of how Jesus had lived and relearning what he was like. I got to know Jesus again, and that was my version of come and see, laying down my questions and meeting Jesus through reading the Bible. And maybe that looks different for each of us in the room today. The Bible's a great place to meet Jesus, but maybe it's, watching a televised version of it. The Chosen's a really great version of the stories of Jesus. Or maybe it is finding some time to pray with a good friend who knows Jesus. Whatever it is for you, I would love to encourage you in the middle of any questions or doubts that you have to meet with Jesus. And meeting with Jesus didn't give me the answer to all of my questions. There are some things that I still wrestle with. I think there'll always be a few mysteries in our lives. But I choose to follow Jesus because I know that he is good and I know that he is God. So it's okay to have questions and doubts, but don't let that stop us from coming to Jesus. When we question if he is good, his invite is come and see, to take it back to the simple things and to meet with him. Okay, I think we're ready for our second piece of jigsaw. Is anybody willing to, you've done one. Esther, are you willing to go and find the next one? You ready? Maybe we can help with some of the clues as well. Okay, so the clue for this second one is go to the top and look down to the ground. I am the best place to monkey around. Do you want to try and help Esther to find it? Anyone got any thoughts where it might be? Have we got anything that monkeys would climb all over in here? Any thoughts? What do you think? Do you want to go and have a look, Esther? Nice. Can you find it? What's it say on that one? What does it say? It says changes. It does. How high can you hold it up? Can you hold it high enough that the people at the back can see? People at the back, can you see? Yeah, excellent. So the second piece of our puzzle is changes. Wonderful. Do you want to put it down here and fit it into the sentence? Do you think you can put the jigsaw together? Amazing. So what happens when Nathanael meets Jesus? He is changed, right? Because he is seen by Jesus. As he approaches, Jesus says, "Here is an Israelite in whom there is no deceit." And that sounds like a really odd way to describe someone. But essentially, what Jesus is saying is, here is a guy who's not trying to pretend. If your friends had to describe you in one word, I wonder what word they would choose. Excellent. We've had a suggestion of fabulous, and I love that. I think from this story that Nathanael's friends would have chosen the word honest. Could be wrong. I don't know. But reading this story, it's like Nathanael has no filter. You get his honest reaction straight off the bat. Whatever is going through his mind, he says out loud. So whether that is, can anything good come from Nazareth? Or whether that is, how on earth do you know me? Or whether that is, all my days, you are the King of Israel. There's no filter. He just says what he is thinking. So when Jesus meets Nathanael and says, here is a guy who is not trying to pretend. Here is an Israelite in whom there is no deceit. I think Nathanael feels known. I think he feels seen, like Jesus knows who he is as a person. And I think he also feels a little bit confused because we don't expect to be that deeply known by someone that we've never met before. So, of course, no filter Nathanael just questions it straight out. He says, "How do you know me?" And Jesus replies, "I saw you whilst you were still under the fig tree." I'm loving how many binoculars are still coming out across the room. This is great. Now, we don't know what was happening under that fig tree. It wouldn't have been particularly weird for Nathanael to be under a fig tree. They were pretty common. But this must have been a really significant moment for Nathanael, because when he heard those words, he went from, "Can anything good come from Nazareth?" to, "You are the Son of God, the King of Israel." Oh, there are some wonderful stickers going on across the room. He went through this really powerful transformation. He's gone from being skeptical to being willing to hope again. He's gone from questioning whether Jesus could really be the Savior they're hoping for to signing up to follow Jesus with everything that he has. And I think the same can be true for us today as well. When we understand that we are seen and known by God, not just for the things that we think are obvious to everyone around us, but even in the moments that we thought that no one saw, we are changed too. I know that that has been true in my life. I have grown up knowing Jesus. I gave my life to following him when I was 4. So for as long as I can remember, he has been my friend and my savior, and that has been such a gift. But it also means that there are some things that I have known in my head, but haven't fully let change the way that I feel. The fact that I am seen and known by God was one of those truths. One of those things that I took for granted. I would say the words, and I'd be willing to tell other people that that was true too. But I would struggle to let it change the way I felt. I knew that I was fearfully and wonderfully made. I knew that God knows everything that I'm going to say, even before I think that I'm going to say it. I knew that God knows how many hairs there are on my head. I knew that the creator of the universe had promised to be with me wherever I went, but I still felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt like I'd been made wrong, and I was scared about some of the tricky conversations that I had to have. And God needed to help me to believe his truth in my heart, not just in my head. God speaks to us in lots of different ways. Sometimes he uses something that we notice in the world around us. Sometimes he uses a Bible verse that we read at just the right time. But this time he used my imagination to speak to me. So I closed my eyes and I saw this film of scenes of my life that I feel like God had put in my mind. Things like a ballet show, or like when I got a prize at school, or when I stood up for my friend when she was being bullied. Lots of different scenes that were moments in my life that I could remember. But as I watched them, I wasn't watching me in the scene. I was focusing on someone else who I hadn't noticed being there in the moment. I was focused on the face of Jesus. I saw how he reacted to lots of the moments in my life, big and small, good and bad. And it was like he was showing me that in every celebration and in every heartbreak, he was there and I was seen and known by him. And that truth changed me. It gave me confidence in who God is, and it helped me to be bold in those tricky conversations, to know that he'd made me intentionally. It has changed the way that I have lived since. So, just to recap, when we come to Jesus, even in the middle of our questions and doubt, being seen and known by him changes us. Okay, we have got one more piece of our jigsaw puzzle to find. Who would like to help find it? Ted, you've done one. Jude, you up for finding one? Okay, are you ready? This is our third and final clue. It says, when your tummy is rumbling or you need a snack, line up right here and then come right back. Where do you think it might be? He's off. Excellent. Can you see a bit of cardboard lying around there? Excellent. You are good at treasure hunts. That is what we like to see. Now, this is a bit of a longer word. Can you see what it says on there? Yeah. Expectations. Nice. Yeah. Do you want to hold it up real high? Cool. I had to write really small on this one. Sorry. Expectations is quite a long word, but hopefully you can still see it at the back. Do you want to add it to our jigsaw? Wonderful. Okay. So, Do we know what that last word means? What expectations means? It's a bit of a longer one, so I just thought it might be worth a little bit of a recap. Expectations is like, what do we think is going to happen next? So my expectation for this afternoon is that I'm going to go to a wonderful picnic with some lovely people. I'm going to sit in the sunshine and eat some food, and that is my expectation for this afternoon. And our story this morning ends with this incredible promise that Jesus makes to Nathanael. He says, you will see even greater things than these. Because this isn't the end of Nathanael's story. He goes on to follow Jesus as one of his disciples, like we said right at the start. And in that role, he got to see some incredible things. He saw Jesus heal blind people and make them see again. He saw people who were carried into the room because they couldn't walk, stand up and walk themselves home. He saw Jesus walk on water. He saw Jesus calm a storm when everyone was terrified that that storm would capsize their boat. He saw 5,000 people fed from 5 loaves and 2 fish. He saw Lazarus, who had died, raised back to life. And he saw Jesus arrested, crucified, and buried in a tomb. And then saw him cook breakfast for them several days later on the beach and sat and had breakfast with the resurrected Jesus. Nathanael definitely got to see greater things than that fig tree moment. And in this moment, right at the start of their story together, Jesus is raising Nathanael's expectations. He's saying, we're not done yet. There is more to come. And I wonder whether he might be saying the same to us this morning. Because this conversation is specific to Nathanael in that moment, but it sounds really like something that Jesus said later on, where he said, very truly, I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the works that I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these, because I am going to the Father. So, if you believe in Jesus this morning, then that is a promise for you today, that you will do even greater things than these. Meeting Jesus has taken Nathanael from doubting and skeptical to expecting the miraculous. And I wonder whether there are any places in your life where you might need this encouragement from God this morning. We're not done yet. There's more to come. What is your expectation for God to be at work in and through you this morning? So we are coming into land. We'll do a quick recap of our puzzle. We know that, actually, can I get 3 people to stand up and hold up our signs? 1, 2, third person. 1, 2, 3. Do you want to stand up? Yeah. So we know that, Jude, do you want to go first? We know that we can come to Jesus in the middle of our questions and our doubts. And we know that when we come to Jesus, when we know that we are seen and known by him, that changes us. And we know that he raises our expectations. Do you want to raise the sign? Yeah, nice. For what he is going to do.